The liberal elitist mainstream media in New York is attempting to create a false narrative about what's going on in Miami Beach during spring break. They are attempting to make everyone believe that somehow Florida has failed in this way or that way, largely driven by jealousy because of the mass flight of money out of their state into Florida. In today's video, I'm going to debunk this. I'm going to show that this has been an issue, what they're talking about, for years. It's nothing new. And how Florida's response to it is really evidence that we're winning. And we're continuing to win. Now, I don't think it's going to come as a shock to most of my audience that depending on where you are in Florida, your experience is going to be very different. A vacation up in the Panhandle, for example, is very different than a vacation down in Miami. I'm up on the northeastern coast, closer to Jacksonville. That's very different than Fort Myers, which is down in the southwest area, and Tampa's different. It's a state with 22 million people. And while many might say, well, the beach is the beach is the beach, that's true. But the demographics are very different from one place to another. This is a picture of Miami Beach looking south. Now, not only does your experience change based on location, it also changes based on when you're there, meaning the time of day. Miami, during the day, is a very sedate place, a very cultural place, regardless of what they say in New York. There's a lot to see, a lot to do, shopping, art, all sorts of things. But as it becomes nighttime, Miami becomes a very different place, as do other locations in Florida. Now, here at CNN, believe it or not, of the two liberal networks up there, CNN and Fox, and yes, Fox has gone completely jumped the shark liberal, and I'm going to prove that. CNN actually gets it closer to right, not right, but closer to it. Their title, Miami Beach declares a state of emergency and curfew as spring break crowd sparks safety concerns. Now, let's read what's actually said here. Miami Beach police fired pepper balls into crowds of partiers and arrested at least a dozen people as the city took extraordinary measures to crack down on spring breakers who officials have said are out of control. Number one, the measures are not extraordinary. The crowds are a little bit larger, yes, but not extraordinary. Miami Beach Mayor Dan Gelber declared a state of emergency and set an 8 p.m. curfew Saturday, saying the crowds that have descended on the city recently are more than we can handle. That's absolutely not correct. Every year, crowds like that descend on the city, and every single year, they get help from the state police of Florida and local counties. And they actually have Department of Corrections out there now, which is actually a good thing. Quote, too many are coming, really without the intention of following the rules, and we're going to cover that here in a minute. And the result has been a level of chaos and disorder that's just something more than we can endure. Quote, and this is from Ernesto Rodriguez, police spokesperson. Officers began dispersing crowds at 8 p.m. and ultimately achieved a satisfactory level of compliance. Now, here's what goes on in Miami Beach that they don't tell you. This doesn't go on in other parts of Florida. Miami Beach, during spring break, is not populated by college kids. It is populated by certain groups of people from New York and New Jersey and other places that are not enrolled anywhere in college. And that's all I'm going to say about that, generally speaking. These are not college kids. These are not spring breakers. The Clevelander, and this is the real kicker here, the Clevelander South Beach, one of Miami Beach's most iconic hotels, announced Friday that it will temporarily halt its food and beverage operations due to safety concerns. Now, Miami Beach, here's the Fox article. Miami Beach declares state of emergency over spring breakers. Now, what you really need to know about this article is you have to kind of step back and look at the sources they're using. First source they list is Joel Franco. I'm going to let you guys look that up. He's been arrested before, and he was fired from local news media for doing things just about as bad as you could possibly imagine. I can't repeat it here on YouTube, but Fox is using him as a source. Brooke Schaefer works for CBS. The only person they use that's even remotely reasonable, is Francisco Alvarado. These little clips and videos. And like I said, I don't normally suggest people go to Fox, but go click on these videos and tell me what you see. Tell me if you see anybody wearing any college gear, any college attire, anybody who looks like they're enrolled in college. You see, these aren't that group of people. Now, here's where you've really got to pay attention. As you scroll down the Fox article, file photos of the daytime during 2020, meaning not 2021. Meaning you're telling me during the day they could not find any kind of a picture for this article. That's how sedate it is. Now, here's an article from September referencing something that was said back in 2019 about what's going on in South Miami during this time. It is not college kids. This is from the Miami New Times. There's a certain thing going on down there that nobody wants to talk about because it's just become one of these cultural anomalies. But it is a great opportunity for law enforcement, and believe me, they have law enforcement come down there from all over Florida to help out, to kind of, quote-unquote, take out the trash, so to speak. Now, this is Brooke Schaefer from CBS. This is Francisco Alvarado. The point being this about Florida and the narrative they're trying to create. It's a very different place depending on where you're at. When you do a video on YouTube as a YouTuber, as a creator, and you talk about Florida in general or the governor in general, people sometimes will find any particular thing that is the exception that proves the rule. Florida, generally speaking, the vast majority of it is very, very safe, very conservative, and you will have a great time most times, most places. Is it the same everywhere, all the time? No, of course not. There are places, just like when you have any major city, that are to be avoided. I could probably say that for pretty much every major city in Florida. Jacksonville, Tampa, Orlando, Miami, Gainesville, Tallahassee, all of the major cities have their good and have their bad. What's going on right now in South Beach during spring break has nothing to do with college kids. It has nothing to do with college kids. And that's why they can't provide pictures of college kids. That's why Fox had to dig up file photos from 2020 for a 2021 article. This is the problem. This is what the mainstream media tries to do. They run out an article and they make a 30-second soundbite or a 1-minute, little blurb about this, that, or the other, knowing that people don't want to think. People don't want to be bothered to think or investigate. what's really going on in a place. And they also know that most people watching their stuff don't live in Florida. They live other places, so they're just going to accept that to be the narrative. With their entire desire being, let's demonize Florida, let's find the worst possible example of behavior, and then let's make it seem like that's everything everywhere all the time. And that it has something to do with college kids. And the policies out of Tallahassee and the governor's office has nothing to do with that. This is truly something that the city of Miami needs to reckon with. This is something that they have allowed to get out of control for a very, very long time. It's thug tourism, is what it is. They have created this little safe space down there for thugs. Now, the beautiful thing is, local law enforcement, instead of local, meaning all of Florida, has taken this as a wonderful opportunity to go do sweeps and pick up fugitives and pick up people that are on the run. A lot of people think they run to Florida, that all of a sudden, that they're safe, that there isn't law enforcement down here, that somehow they can escape whatever they've done everywhere else. Not the case at all. Not the case at all. So I know college kids can get a little rowdy and out of control, but trust me when I tell you what they're talking about in South Beach in Miami has nothing to do with college kids. And I will leave it there. God bless. Happy Sunday. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see all of y'all on Twitch tonight, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Take care and have a great week.